Shohei Ohtani hit a leadoff home run, pitched 6+ innings, finished with no hits allowed. No other MLB player in the modern era has accomplished both feats over the course of his entire career, same game or not. I realize exhausting for some people when we sit here and we say Shohei and everybody rolls their eyes because they realize that quickly means that we're going to be talking about Shohei yet again. I don't think you can talk about Shohei enough, Caroline. It's just beyond any doubt at this point that he's the single greatest baseball player I'll ever see in my life, and whatever praise we're giving him, he deserves more.
And after the game, he talked about how disappointed he was in his performance because he walked 4 batters. He struck out 12 and hit a leadoff home run. Like, he's doing things. It feels like every night that he's out there on the mound. Feels like every week we have a new Shohei did something that nobody has ever done in the history of baseball. Or Shohei just did something that hasn't been done since Babe Ruth did it. So he's not just changing the history books in Major League Baseball. He's breaking all of our brains in the process. Because it is really just, frankly, so difficult for me to conceptualize how good Shohei Ohtani is at everything. How consistent Shohei Ohtani has been really throughout the entirety of his career. I do think we take it for granted. Because the fact that Shohei Ohtani continues to do things that we've never seen done in the history of this sport, and that's a long history. Baseball's been around. We're not talking about it enough. If it's the leadoff story on SportsCenter, we're not talking about it enough. And Fitzy, I really wish that I did have this new, fresh, never been heard before kind of take when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. But all I can say is we are watching history. We will be telling our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids about how we got to watch Shohei Ohtani. About how we got to witness one of the, if not the greatest baseball players in the history of the sport of baseball. I wish I had something new to offer up. But at the end of the day, all that can really be said about Shohei Ohtani is there's no word in the English language that accurately encapsulates Shohei Ohtani's greatness. And it is simply just a privilege to watch him. The kids out there, they're going to say, oh, she's glazing him. So be it. He deserves it. Shohei Ohtani has very much so deserved every amount of praise that has been heaped upon him. He's terrifying for every other team in baseball, and he is a privilege for every fan of this sport.
At some point, it's no longer just a conversation of Shohei greatness in baseball. And it's just a conversation of Shohei greatness. Because if you want to talk about who's the greatest quarterback of all time, we can talk about Tom Brady. I think many people would say Tom Brady. But there's also a whole generation that would say, well, Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. Then there's a whole generation older than that that's going to talk about other quarterbacks most of us don't remember, right? And now there's a new generation that's already saying, well, could Mahomes be the next Brady? Whenever we talk about the greatest quarterbacks of all time, there are multiple quarterbacks in the same bucket to at least pick out, have a debate about, have a conversation about. When you talk about the greatest NBA players of all time, LeBron versus MJ is a debate for a reason. All we have to do is say LeBron versus MJ and everybody loses their mind because there's a whole group of people that will never feel the same about LeBron that they do about Michael Jordan and vice versa. And then there's the accomplishments. You simply look at it there's a whole group of people that want to look at every championship LeBron has lost as some sort of an indictment against his greatness, whatever. You can find other players to put into the same bucket of the greatest of all time conversations. I don't think you can find anybody that even belongs in the same bucket as what Shohei's doing because he's doing it at 2 different positions at the same time. Because he's generational at 2 different things at the same time. Because he's the best we're going to see at 2 different things at the same time. I don't think this is any longer just a conversation about, is Shohei the best baseball player? I think this is now a question of, is Shohei the most dominant athlete in his sport that we will ever see? And when it comes to, even if it's just not individual dominance, it's just the fact that what we're seeing is so great at so many different things at so many different times on a team that is now so accomplished, winning championships. Shohei's going to win every individual accolade there is. He's going to win every team accolade you could possibly win. He's going to be that guy in every possible way. And what I don't want to do is normalize that greatness down to a conversation just of where does Shohei rank in the Mount Rushmore of baseball players, because it ain't about that anymore. It's where does Shohei rank in the Mount Rushmore of athletes we've ever seen. And I think it's clear that Shohei is on that mountain. Shohei's sculpture can be done. You can debate everybody else you want to debate. I don't know how the hell you debate. If you're debating individual greatness, individual dominance, individual records, if you're debating memories that will last generations, if you're debating the conversation piece we'll have for generations, all of those debates, Shohei's at the top. I no matter how much we talk about Shohei, we are underselling how much, to me, Shohei Ohtani means to baseball, but also how much Shohei means to pop culture, how much Shohei means to culture around the world, and how much Shohei just means to athletic greatness right now. I don't think anybody living or dead has ever done what Shohei is doing to baseball right now.
Which is why, or one of the reasons why, I kind of roll my eyes at the MLB salary cap, salary floor conversation. Because a big reason why the salary cap conversation has even started is not only just owners that don't want to spend a bunch of money, but it's because the Los Angeles Dodgers have the ability to spend more than anybody else in the league, and they have now become the big bad Dodgers because of it. You know, you win back-to-back championships, and all of a sudden everyone wants the rules changed. And look, the Dodgers have paid everyone more than anyone else can pay, right? We just saw them win a championship and they were like, we just want to pay Kyle Tucker just for funsies. And they did, and they outbid the Mets in the process. So I understand that the spending and the money is a big part of this. But also, I roll my eyes because how much of it is the money and how much of it is the Dodgers have Shohei and you don't. And I understand that the clapback to that could be, well, I mean, the Angels had Shohei and they, didn't even make the postseason. I get that. I think that's more of just the Angels being an abject disaster, more of a disaster than Shohei could ever pull them out of than it is any, knock against Shohei Ohtani. Because if we want to talk about how Shohei is one of the greatest baseball players in the history of the sport, is the most valuable player in Major League Baseball, consistently breaks records and rewrites history books, well, then I think we have to keep that into consideration when we talk about the Dodgers and about what the Dodgers have now been for baseball over the last couple of years. The Dodgers are ruining baseball because of their spending. Sure, okay. But also, the Dodgers have the best player on the planet. And there's no amount of salary cap or salary floor that's going to change that.
And speaking of salary cap, salary floor, we do have the updates as we will continue to get over the course of the next several months about the collective bargaining agreement process. We now have the proposal that has come back from Major League Baseball to the Major League Baseball's Players Association as they continue to go back and forth. The MLBPA submitted its first CBA proposal to the league, focusing on salary increases. Reportedly, the salary cap proposal that has come back is one from Major League Baseball that includes the salary cap, something players are not at all interested about. Caroline, the more we talk about these salary cap proposals that are going back and forth, the more it's clear to me that there is no in between. There is no compromise. One side wants the salary cap. The other side wants nothing to do with it. There is no easy answer to that. I am sitting here wondering how close we are to a complete stoppage. This feels like a historic shutdown is around the corner because I don't find compromise. If the issue is salary cap, there's no in between. You either have it or you don't. So in my mind, if that is going to be the sticking point, I don't know how you solve that through negotiation.
We have a list of 15 teams up on the screen. 15 teams that in this hypothetical salary floor would be below the salary floor. 9 of those teams are above 500. 9 of them. 9 of 15 teams are above 500 despite spending below the salary floor. And in some of these cases, significantly below almost half what the salary floor would be, including the Tampa Bay Rays, who have the third best record in baseball behind only the Dodgers and the Braves. So I hear you on these teams need to spend. Like I look at the poor Miami Marlins. It's like a lot of these teams have just been terrible for so long, and it doesn't look like they have owners that are willing to spend their way out of it, and that stinks. And I hate that for those fans. But that sounds like more of an ownership issue and less of a Major League Baseball issue. My team, the Cardinals. I'm from St. Louis. The Cardinals were my first love. They have spent $80 million below what this proposed salary floor would be. And this is the most exciting year in Cardinals baseball since they made the postseason in 2022. So are we really willing to go into a lockout over this? Is Major League Baseball really willing to miss games, miss a postseason, miss a season because of this? Because I am seeing a lot of these teams overachieve despite lack of spending. So I think in the past, I think I was very open to the idea of a salary cap and a salary floor because I wanted competitiveness. And that's what a salary cap and or floor can bring. If everyone's spending around the same amount of money, then in theory, everyone is competitive because everyone's kind of beating up on each other. But I'm seeing a year in Major League Baseball that is so incredibly fun to watch. And I don't want to mess with it. And I certainly don't want to lock out because of it.